This is Her Confidence Her Way podcast, episode 38. Are you feeling not confident? Are you telling yourself, no, you're not good enough? You know you can do more, and you know you're better than who you are right now. Well, it's not time for you to give up on who you are. Welcome to Her Confidence Her Way podcast. I am Emiko Rasmussen, a confidence-building coach and a host of this podcast. Each week, I will bring you a guest or a lesson that will help you to break through your self-limiting beliefs, fears, and barriers so that you can start building your own confidence and do what you really want to do without worrying about someone else's opinion and start living a meaningful life. We all have a gifted talent that no one can copy, and we're here to let our talent shine. So don't limit yourself. Are you ready to begin your journey to your confidence breakthrough? Let's go. Today's episode is brought to you by Audible.com. I love learning and I love reading about self-help, female leadership, and any professional development books. But I'm a mom of two, and I'm also a full-time working mom, and I got no time to sit down and enjoy some tea and read in a quiet room. Lucky me, I found Audible, and I'm loving it, and I have been a user for over a year now, and I just cannot live without it now. You can listen to your favorite book during your commute, while you're cooking, cleaning, or folding your laundry at home, or even while you're working out. For you, yes you, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to get you the opportunity to check out their service. Get a free Audible download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/therealglobalvoice, or you can go to my website and click on the Audible 30 days trial. I love free stuff, and you should definitely try it. Hey ladies, welcome back to the another episode of Her Confidence Her Way podcast. My name is Emiko Rasmussen, and I am your host. Today, I have invited Jessica Nguyen, who is very passionate about increasing the visibility of Asian and Asian American women. And she is very passionate about sharing their real stories. Jessica is a host of Project Voice podcast, and she is empowering other Asian and Asian American women by speaking up and sharing their own stories. Project Voice showcases the real stories that normally people may be afraid to talk about in regards to people of color in the United States. This is a great opportunity for us to learn from Jessica on what she does and how she is supporting the community of Asian women. Speaking of supporting women is so important, especially for us women. In order for us to be more visible or gain credit or trying to be more advanced to the career, we really need each other. Women are more likely to be interrupted by men. So when that happens, it is our responsibility to really help those women. So let's say I'm speaking in the meeting and some other men interrupt me, and I hope that there are other women out there raising their hand and say, hey, Emiko is still speaking, so let her talk, or something like that. Or, for example, if someone said something, this idea, and no one seems to really agree or really acknowledging her idea, and then another man said something similar or exactly the same thing with a different way, and so many people decided to agree. If that happens, then it is our responsibility to say, yes, I completely agree. That is the idea that, let's say, Jessica brought up originally, right? So giving a credit where the credit is due. So I know women tend to kind of compete or I don't know, sometimes say something not nice to each other because I don't know if it's a jealousy or not, but we don't really have the time for it. It is so important for us to really help each other. And it's not that I am saying that all men are bad or anything. That is not my point. But my point is, we really need to help each other. And that is my point, because in the professional environment, men tend to be promoting more and getting more raises. And that's a fact, right? All right, so let's move on to today's guest. Jessica Nguyen is the host of the podcast called Project Voice, which is a series dedicated to increasing visibility on narratives from Asian American and spearheaded by the voices of Asian American women. As the host, Jessica hopes that this series will act as a digital space where members of her community can go for guidance and resources. Jessica is a lifelong digital content creator who works with all mediums, constantly thinking about what the next project will be. All right, here's my conversation with Jessica. Enjoy. Hi, Jessica. Thank you so much for joining for the show. I'm super excited to have you here.
Hi, I'm super excited too. Thank you for inviting me. I feel honored.
Oh my gosh, thank you. So I found you through one of my favorite podcasts. It's Sheena Yapchin's the Tales of Self-Confidence podcast. And then I was listening to your story and I'm like, oh my gosh, this person, she's so brave and she's like really, like she inspired me in so many ways. And I'm like, I gotta talk to her. So I'm super excited to interview you today. So can you tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Jessica again, and I am a freelance digital content creator. That's how I like to go around introducing myself to others. But I also have my own podcast series called Project Voice, and that is aimed to empower other Asian American women to share their voices on issues that we so currently experience within our own community.
Wonderful. So why did you decide to start so I'm going to focus on your podcast today. So why did you decide to start your podcast, especially focusing on Asian women and around the topic of social justice? I know you talk more than just one specific topic, but
Yeah.
Why did you decide to do that?
Yeah, I'm very passionate about social justice and identity politics. And coming from a college that really was gung-ho about that type of culture, like being socially aware about the issues that other marginalized communities face, I felt the need to share my own voice and thoughts about this topic. Like, social justice is a very broad topic, and for me, as an Asian woman who've experienced a lot of microaggressions growing up, both at school and at different workplaces, and just like different issues that you see in mainstream media as well in real life. I wanted to create a space to have others share their voices, including mine, and educate others on these issues and raise awareness and increase visibility on the topics that the issues that we face as a community.
Awesome. So you said you have recently graduated college, or?
Yeah, I graduated college last year at Smith College, Western Mass. It's an amazing school. It completely changed my life. I took my first Asian American Studies course there, and going in, I felt a bit silly taking a course on something that I always knew that I was, but really there was more to it.
So that was your
Like
major, or what was your?
my major was actually economics.
Oh, gotcha.
A lot of people are surprised when I tell them that. Since I do a lot of work related to Asian American studies, saw so many Asian students in the economics department too. So not so much, but defying stereotypes is definitely something I always try to fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so funny. So, speaking of stereotypes, let me share my story really quickly. When I first came to US, which was back in 2003, and all what I can really say it confidently is, "Hi, my name's Emiko." Well, back then it was Emiko Takahashi. So Emiko Takahashi, and I'm from Yokohama, Japan. So whenever people hear Yokohama, so I guess so many people associate Japan equal car. So like, oh, I know all about the Yokohama tire, and then they start talking about cars. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, what is this thing called a Yokohama tire? Like, I don't know. I guess now I know it's a company, the car company, and then I guess that the company is called Yokohama.
Yeah, it's really weird when people make conversations, or uh, more specifically, white people, when they engage in conversations about like my identity or ethnicity. It's like I'm more than that. I'm a human being. But when I talk about like my Vietnamese roots, like it's often them just saying how awesome or like delicious pho is, like how they love Vietnamese food. I'm like, that's great, but there's so much more to the culture than food. And I was like, I don't really know what else to say. So good job for you. Like, here's a gold sticker. Um, Cause, like it feels weird. Like I don't want to be seen as just like this one dimensional character. Like I'm more than my race again. And like at the same time I'm also very proud of my like background. And I do feel like, strongly connected to other Asian Americans. And, I always get into like really good conversations about like the frustrations we have to deal with, like out like in the US and growing up. And so like especially for me growing up as a young girl, like having, like struggling with the English language, like I had, to deal with a lot of issues with like, reading, writing, and speaking it, even though I was born in the States. And so I was quite surprised that I ended up like creating my own podcast where a lot of the work involved me like having to articulate myself because it takes a lot of guts and confidence. I think one of the many challenges I had to deal with when it comes to interviewing others is educating myself and making sure that I have enough vocabulary and enough knowledge about the history pertaining to like our Asian American communities, so that I give the right information to other people. And because like in that context, like political correctness is important. I wouldn't say like it's like I wouldn't say like if you made a mistake, it's like the end of the world or anything. Like we're all here to learn. And that's why I have this podcast out there so people can listen and learn from other speakers I have on the show. So yeah, that was how I got started.
Wonderful. I really love your story. So many of the topics that you talk, because I've been listening to your podcast ever since I discovered your podcast, are the subjects are very, I don't know, like subjects are something that many people want to avoid, or like you said, it takes a gut to say things and all that stuff. So it could be a little bit of like touchy, or maybe people don't want to say it and just just through it. So how do you feel about being a leader to speak up and to those subjects, and really providing that the
Yeah,
community?
at first, like ideating how a Project Voice, I had a huge moment of hesitation, like because I knew what my weaknesses were, and one of them was speaking, and I was actually nervous and a bit scared to start. But then once I get the hang of things and actually like engaging in these discussions, I felt like really empowered in these moments where like I would, share my pieces of knowledge and others too. And it's like, it's, like everyone has their own personal experiences, and like I share like my own struggles, and it's not always technical, which is great. It's like a lot of emotions being poured into each episode. And so I feel gradually more personally connected to the podcast the more I work on it. And, I think it's a very empowering experience for not just me, but for other women too, either listening to it or partaking in the interview. And I feel very proud to know that I have Project Voice out there in the open.
Yes. Yeah, this is so wonderful. So speaking of, you mentioned in the podcast you share your personal stories, right? So can you share just one or a few, it doesn't matter, an example that, you have faced which kind of like made you upset, or like really like this is such a stereotypical thing, or like confused or surprised of any of that as an Asian woman?
I think there's a good number, but one moment that I could think of was during work. One time when I was working with a colleague in the same office, and I think there came a point when she asked me why I mentioned my Asianness so much. Like, at that point, I was very comfortable with, like, I was more comfortable sharing just like my connection to the Asian American community, and she just felt frustrated and she felt excluded. Like she even said that herself when she told me it, and I think that's the for me. Like I uh, felt frustrated because she wasn't understanding where I was coming from in terms of like it's whenever I bring my community up, it's not meant to exclude her. It's not meant to exclude any white person. I mean, although the experience is definitely not theirs to call their own, but it's for me to say that, oh, for example, mental health is an issue, is considered a taboo issue in our community. And yes, you may experience mental health issues too, but there are different cultural implications between our mental health issues and yours. And that she further escalated this like I don't know, like conflict by saying that she had Asian friends herself, and that's not the right way of going about it. By just because you have Asian American friends, who may not have this issue, or like who may not be applied to this issue. It's like I'm saying it in general. Like this is still mental health is still important to the community. It's obviously it doesn't affect individuals like everyone, but I would say like as a whole, it's something that we need to work on, and that I know like I have friends too, like many peers of mine who have trouble talking about seeking therapy, or talking about like having depression to their parents, and so on and so forth. And so it was this emotional labor that I had to go through sometimes when I had to explain to my white friends. And another case was when I was working with more colleagues when they were talking about this movie called Doctor Strange, and it's pretty it's a pretty problematic film as a whole. And
It's a movie, you said?
yeah, it's a movie. It's a superhero movie,
Okay.
and Benedict Cumberbatch plays in it, and it takes place in Tibet. And people were outraged when they heard that there was a white woman who was playing a Tibetan monk, and that was like the whitewashing of a character. And there's a lot of whitewashing issues in movies we see nowadays, and I can talk about whoever like Scarlett Johansson and Emma Stone, and and like the recent Pacific Islander film too, with whatever that dude's name is. And going back to this like other issue, like colleagues asked me whether I would watch this movie or not, and I told them I wouldn't. And they were trying to, in a way, defend the rationale behind the selection of like the actors of this movie. And for me, it's not really just the whitewashing of that character. It's the whole setting itself. Like, I mean, the fact that this film was based on a comic book series that was written by a white man. Like, we often see Asia being exoticized and being portrayed as like some mystical land world that we don't know, when in reality it's not the case at all. Like, we're just making white European like world more the norm, the standard, and of course that's very problematic. And so I told them that it's not just the character, it's more like the film itself. And even though they quote unquote get that, they still watched it. Like, I had a friend who was trying to defend me, but she had no idea what like, she sort of like came in without asking, like in a way like she was trying to be an ally without being asked. And that's not the right way to go either when you are trying to be an ally to a person of color, to an Asian person. It's more about like giving space and listening to, like really listening to what we have to say, what Asian Americans have to say. And those are two examples of the.
Yeah, thank you so much for being, transparent and share about those. I completely agree with that. The movie, the Hollywood. I know we can talk about this like forever, but Hollywood has such a limited, like, I don't know. It's you don't really hear many Asian actress or actors. So, for example, like for me, when I watched the Geisha movie, it's do you know which movie I'm talking about? It's the Memorable Geisha.
Geisha, yeah.
Yeah, that is a Japanese. I mean, the main character should be Japanese, but the actress wasn't Japanese. I think she was Chinese. And then there are other scenes where they're like kind of like a representing about Japan, but it's just everything was just like so stereotypical things, and I'm like, that's not Japan, and I don't want the Hollywood to portray something that is only stereotypical things. And in my own experience, this whenever people say this word, I feel not comfortable. But like, oh, you have this like what is the word, exotic?
Yeah.
Like accent or like exotic looks or something like that. I'm like, I don't like that. Or like people will say, some people literally say like they don't know where Japan is, so they would say like, oh, you're from Oriental. I'm like, this is 2017.
Terrible term too. Like,
yeah. So there are so many things that we can point out, and it's so important because I had nowhere to talk about it because no one would understand my feeling. So now it's so great to hear there's this community and you are doing this, and I would love to see more of Asian or Asian American women especially speaking up and really bring a different like aspect of it. It's not just like a one side, like you said, oh, I'm Vietnamese, oh, I love pho. Like, that's not all about it. So thank you so much for sharing. So I'm going to ask you this question. So this is something that I always ask in my podcast, and I would love to hear yours. So I believe that everyone has a gifted talent that no one can copy. And I would like to know what is yours and how you're using it, especially, ready to do these very brave things. So I would love to know.
Oh, I don't see it as talent but I do think that I'm very persevering. Like, I persevere a lot. I think that's the key to success, or to um, achieving whatever you want to achieve. And, it's about challenging myself to get out of my comfort zone every day to do something that I, would not expect myself doing. And in a way, like, bad or good, the results are like I'm gonna grow from it. I'm gonna gain a lesson from it. And in terms of the podcast project, I spent a lot of time, and it's a lot of hard work and dedication. With every episode, I spend at least 4 hours recording and editing. So you probably understand the struggle, like the hard work being poured into it too. And that's the same with me, just like being consistent with the work I do, and being passionate about it too, like reminding myself that this is what I really want to do. This is why, what I want to do, and it's making me happy, and I am helping my community in my own way. And I think it's nothing grand or anything. I think everyone has the potential to make a difference just by persevering.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And also, this is another question that I really love asking for my podcast too. So, can you tell us your own definition of self confidence, and how are you building your own confidence?
Yeah. So I think my definition of self confidence is that not only should I or anyone could like focus on not only should we focus on our strengths, we should focus on our weaknesses as well. Our strengths are great to have, but I've noticed that a lot of things I do are require what I'm not so great at, and that's speaking and writing. And I have to practice a lot, and just again challenging myself. And I think being open to my vulnerabilities, to others as well as myself, acknowledging that there are there's always room for improvement. And when I acknowledge that, I can always put in more work to better myself.
I love it because what you said was focus on weaknesses, not to just focus on weakness to just tell yourself how bad you are. That's not what you're saying. You're saying is you accept you become aware of what you're not good at, but like for example you said it earlier, speaking was one of your weaknesses, but you do it anyways because this is something that you're going to have to face it, and there is always a room for your improvement. So that's beautiful. So thank you so much. So I want to know, what is your vision for your pocket Project Voice, and what do you want to see happening within 3 years?
But I plan to continue working on Project Voice for at least another season. Still working on season 3, so producing more episodes for the podcast and trying to include more voices and narratives that I haven't included yet in the past. So being more aware of the diversity of the people I'm inviting onto Project Voice. And I'd like to create or turn Project Voice into more of a digital platform. I'd love to go into videos, but we'll have to see if I have the capacity to do so. But for now, I just trying my best to continue putting out content consistently for the podcast part.
That's nice. And I love how you said that you want to increase the diversity, and that's exactly what I'm doing then. That's why I'm bringing you as a guest, and, to show, because my podcast is mainly focusing on Japanese women. But I think that the struggles, the barriers that we face is not just the Japanese woman we face it. I think we share some of the struggles. We share some of the. I feel like so. As a woman in the U.S., obviously we all share something, right? It could be gender inequality or whatever that is. And as an Asian woman, like there's like another layer that we face, but then that's not something that I can share with not everybody. So, and what I wanted to say is that it's not just the Japanese people, but then I feel like people who. With Asian descent, but it's not just the Japanese, but it could be any other Asian countries, but we kind of share the similar struggles. So I really love to hear and kind of like talk it out and really understand. So I really love what you're doing as well in terms of like increasing the diversity as well.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love your work too. I keep it up.
Thank you. So at the end, I just want to I want you to tell my audience, like, where can we find you and what is the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter at Project Voice AAW. We recently got an Instagram account too with the same handle. And I also have a website up, projectvoiceaaw.com. And those are all the social media I have.
Awesome. So all the links that you mentioned, I'll make sure to put it in the show notes. So those people who are listening, if you didn't get to write it down, don't worry. You can go to my website at www.theemmystyle.com and then you can find Jessica's show note as well. Okay, so that is all for today. So thank you so much for coming and sharing your stories and the things that you're doing and also sharing your vision.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye.
Okay, bye. There you have it. I hope you had enjoyed my conversation with Jessica. You can find all the links that Jessica mentioned from my show note, which is my website, www.theemmystyle.com. One of my listeners asked me if I have experienced any racism or discrimination. Probably yes. My answer is yes. One thing that I can think of is long time ago, I was in a cheerleading team here in the US. And we're in the car on the way to the semi-professional basketball game. And this girl, she asked if I can see well. And I'm like, what do you mean if I can see well? I don't need a glasses. I have pretty good vision or sight. I don't know which one is the right term. Anyways, but you got the point. And then she's like, no, you're Asian and you have chinky eyes, and this term is really not accepted and I don't necessarily want to use it, but because it's a story and it really happened, so I'm just saying. So chinky eyes meaning it's just like Asians' typical eyes. It's almond shaped, beautiful eye shape, I think, but some people call it chinky eyes, and please do not use that term if you've never heard of it. Anyway, so going back, she said, well, you have chinky eyes and you have such a smaller eye, so I'm not sure if you can see well. I thought that she was joking, but she wasn't. So in the car, so many people were in the car listening what this girl asked me this question, and it got quiet. But whenever those things happen, instead of being really upset or anything, I just think that, or certain feeling like I feel bad for that person. I hope that she or he will learn something in the future, so that way they will not embarrass themselves. I just need to pick a fight. One of my colleagues that I admire a lot said that and she's a woman of color, and she said when we face some challenges, she had to really think what kind of cards were dealt. So she said, was it a card of a challenge or a barrier of her being a woman, Or was it a barrier or a challenge that is being a woman and a minority? So, we really need to, whenever those things happen, we not only we're facing a challenge as a woman, we also have to think, wait, am I being discriminated, or am I facing this situation because I am Asian or because I'm immigrant? So, those things would happen daily, but we just have to support each other and really listen to other women's story, and having a podcast like Jessica would help, right? To really bring the visibility of what's really happening in the States. All right, so I have one more episode or one more interview, and the Her Confidence, Her Way podcast season 2 will end and we will resume in October. So look forward to the last episode of season 2 of Her Confidence, Her Way podcast. All right, thanks for listening. Bye. Thank you so much for spending the time with me today. Make sure to subscribe to Her Confidence, Her Way podcast and leave a review, which will help this podcast to be more visible so that other women can find this podcast easily. For free monthly newsletter, free private Her Confidence, Her Way community, and learn how you can get free weekly lesson to help you build your self-confidence, go to www.theemmystyle.com. Ladies, you don't need a permission from someone else to believe yourself. Just be you, because you are amazing. Let's support each other and keep on building your confidence.